Welcome to Sampson's Judo. Today the technique we'll be covering in some detail is Ogoshi major hip throw. A very important technique which lays seeds to future hip throwing techniques. The throw we've just been looking at is O Goshi, major hip throw. It's quite a basic technique, but it does lead seed to future techniques. We start O Goshi by taking Nomi Kumikata, hand which is up to the chest, just like all the other techniques that we've been teaching you. The other hand goes underneath the elbow, just holding underneath the elbow, not on the side. We hold here, which is very, very important. O Goshi is a hip technique, and basically what I need to do is to stand in a most natural position, which is very, very strong, and that should be like so. You need to be evenly distributed, so you have movability, flexibility, and also strength to lift Uki up off the ground. Now Uki stands across here, depending how he stands. What I need to do, I need to be into this circle here. I need to be in front of Uki, across here. Pay attention not to come too close to Uki. The idea is, from here, I basically need to turn around and face in the same direction as Uki. You shouldn't be facing in any other direction at this stage. Very slight adjustments okay, but too much means colluding the hips in the wrong direction. So concentrate on turning inside Uki, facing the same direction. The first move we're going to do is by letting go. As soon as I move, we're going to do what we call a three-step movement, which is working crossways, like the letter X. Right toe goes to right toe, leaving enough room in the background to bring the left foot in and then pivot to facing the same direction. So we have 1, 2, 3. Very simple stepping action, 1, 2, 3. Make sure when you pivot, you actually pivot onto your toes, so your heels are actually off the ground. You shouldn't go Goshi flat-footed. If you do that, it indicates to me that your balance is broken backwards, and we want as much leverage and momentum coming forward. To stop that happening, the hand action here, as we step, comes up by using the wrist, like so, which is very similar to most Japanese techniques like Haragoshi, Hanigoshi, Taitoshi, which we talked about in the last video. Use the wrist to come up, across here. Just as his balance is broken, the left hand will start to take lead by continuing the movement. So this is called Kuzushi, which is breaking the balance, and then when this takes over, it's called Tsuri, which is floating and continuing the movement. As Uki's balance is maintained coming forward, the hand will drop and will be placed behind the back. If you can, try to grab the belt. Do not come up here, which a lot of people do. O Goshi is a hip technique, and we need to apply all elements around the hips. So we have one step. There's the action here. Do not break Uki's balance by pulling downwards. We want to really make him as light as possible. We want to bring Uki onto his toes, make him very, very light for us to execute the throw. So hand action and leg action and twisting works together. So watch the hands, step up, maintain Uki up with the left hand. If you relax this hand and Uki will drop back onto flat-footed, he'll be in a position to counter you, resist, and make it very difficult. So we want to keep him in a vulnerable position. To do that, you've got to keep Uki onto his toes. So toe to toe, up, hand on the back, bring the left foot in, extend your hips so there's body contact. Use your right hand to actually bring Uki onto the hip, that little extra. So you've got the hip and Uki's hip coming together, so there is contact and a good connection. So from here up, bring the hips in, bring Uki onto the hips. Very important. Turn your head around, knees are bent, so my gravity is below Uki. Bend forward, and then using a hand action and a twisting action, uke gets thrown. Just watch again. Step in, down, foot, connection, twist, throw. If you notice, uke lands quite close to me, doesn't get thrown away. I'm securing him, good support, fantastic position for a transitional technique. So even though Ogoshi is a hip technique, it requires a lot of hand action, which makes it very, very important. What we don't want you to do is when you step in, when you turn around, is that you actually hit uke and the weight goes backwards. If you don't break the balance for uke to come to you, you will end up going backwards. The other thing we don't want you to do is where we lift uke outwards and down. So we don't want you stepping in and then straightening the legs. The idea of good judo is that it's continuous in a circle. A lot of my judo is what we call Kyushindo, which is circular action. So once you get uke on the right position, just bend forward. Up, 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 hand around the back in. Now from here, just bend and then bring the elbow into a circular action. This elbow, which is here, doesn't just come straight down, it comes into a circular action, creating circular movement, okay? And down, perfect every time. Knees bent, good secure, safe, sound, and very, very crisp. This is Ogoshi. Once you master Ogoshi, it does put you in a good position to understand further techniques like Haragoshi, Tsuri Komi Goshi, which we'll be covering later on. Although at the moment we're covering basic techniques, we're going to complex things later on in the series, adding counters, combinations, and new innovative techniques, maybe something you haven't seen before. But for the time being, this is O Goshi Mechi hip throw. There are slightly different varieties of Ogoshi. This is a basic Ogoshi we teach people, especially beginners, because there's a lot more support involved. There are slightly variety of Ogoshis. We have different names for them. This is your basic Ogoshi, which we talked about. Another good hip technique which has connected to the same family is Tsuri Komi Goshi, resisting hip throw. And that's done where we don't actually let go of the elbow. Instead of coming around the back, we keep hold of the lapel. But what is important is that you do not hold very high on this. Because what we're trying to do is to step and get the elbow underneath uke's left shoulder. This helps to elevate and bring uke forward. If you hold too high, your arm will be too short to actually go onto the shoulder. If you hold too low, okay, you will not have much control. The only thing you're going to manage is actually bring uke's jacket out there and make him look messy, and there's not much control. So you must hold about here, which is the shoulder, and again, the wrist is done for position. Step, concentrate on this elbow, and then use this to break uke's balance. It's like a punching forward, everything in a circle, up and forward, very straightforward. Okay? This hand follows. Your stepping action is exactly the same as Ogoshi. What we're concentrating is to step in and turn around. Instead of putting the hand around the back, keep hold, step, place the elbow underneath, break uke's back, and this one requires a little bit more kuzushi, a little bit more extension of the hips. Hand action comes up. If you notice, everything's very similar to Ogoshi, a little bit difference on the shoulder. Look around, bend forward, and throw. This is Tsuri Komi Goshi, resisting hip throw. Okay. Lots of breaking of the balance. Bring your left foot in, extend your hips, and throw. Tsuri Komi Goshi. Another variation of Ogoshi is the Koshi Guruma. This is done where the hand is left a little bit high up here. This requires practically normal kumikata, so uke doesn't know what's happening. The movement is exactly the same as O Goshi, turning completely around. The difference is how we place the arm. This time, instead of the hand being around the back, instead of the hand going under the shoulder, it moves a little bit higher. Okay? And then again, this is used to elevate the uke up. Your arms, your shoulders, your wrist working. Bring uke up onto his toes. Step in front, lift him up. Step around. Lots of hips. Bend forward. One important thing, make sure you don't let go of uke's lapel. It's very important your hand doesn't slip and goes around the neck. Okay? That becomes a different technique called kubinagi. And it's not very nice. And you can hurt uke's neck. There's been many incidences because you're holding uke's neck and you're throwing, and sometimes the uke resists. All the pressure goes onto the back of the spine. And what we want to do in judo, yes, we want to throw each other, but yes, we don't want to kill each other or injure each other. It's very important that we maintain a regular practice. So looking after each other is very, very important. Once you've developed these hip techniques and these hand techniques, then we can work on to more complex movements and how to do transitions and everything. So we've covered 3 different types of techniques, all working on the same element of Ogoshi. We have O Goshi, we have Tsuri Komi Goshi, and we have Koshi Guruma, holding our hip. You work, you practice what you komi, and you develop them. So if you go away and think about this, practice, I'll continue to throw uke. Crisp, sound, technical, at the same time safe.